At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes. Your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
How big are your quads?
I don't know. I had them pretty much my whole life, so I'm not really sure. I mean, a little bit here and there, but.
There's like a few different players.
They like to crack.
Shannon Earhart from KCCI asking the hard-hitting questions to Xavier Williams after quite a first performance for the redshirt freshman. Welcome to this post-Albany edition of Eye on the Hawks on a Sunday night, 1-0 after a 34-7 win over the Great Danes at Albany, 205 for Kirk Ferentz at Iowa, tying Woody Hayes for the most wins at a Big Ten program. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here. Also got Ren directing behind the camera and off mic, but we appreciate what she's doing tonight. And Robert, former UI marching band member, in here as well. Of course, Lou Christ signing off after so many years with the marching band doing the PA. He's also in the room today. Lots to get to, of course, more about what Xavier Williams did with those quads, less about the muscles themselves and more about the performance. You will hear from other players that did bring that up coming up, and a look at the defense as they settled in after a first half against the Great Danes. Special team stuff, Monticello's own Preston Reese announcing his presence with authority as well. But first, before we get into everything, just the initial reactions, you guys. It was a nice little Saturday at Kinnick.
Yes. I mean, you want me to just go right into my initial impressions? Maybe I'll save some of my
very quickly
my hot takes for later. But yes, I would say overall, very disappointing performance by the quarterback and by a lot of players out there. Frankly, outside of like Xavier Williams, Preston Reese, I thought Zach Lutmer looked good, but they do go to 1-0, so I'm sure that's what Kirk Ferentz is hanging his hat on right now. Yeah,
you got to take it the result, the 34-7, win with who you played and how they, project on the year. And I don't think Albany's any good. Maybe they're a FCS playoff team. If we find out later in November, which I don't think is the case. If we do, maybe we look back and we say, hey, maybe we were a little too harsh. But yeah, I'm really glad we don't do instant reaction because I was really kind of bummed last night.
Yeah.
Just thought we'd see a better performance.
100%.
A lot of missed throws. The running game was good, though, and the running game from Mark was good.
Yep.
But if we have to rely on that all year, I don't know if he's going to make it out of the season without getting banged up.
Yeah.
11 rushes against Albany. You think you probably would only have to do 4 or 5, But there were, the defense in the second half was good. Special teams was good. So there were some, spots.
Some bright spots.
Yeah, but those were the spots where you expected them to be bright, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's tee it up with Pin Seekers, and we'll get into Mark Gronowski's debut. Maybe you've picked up the gist already. A lot of folks maybe expecting a little more in his 56th career start. Did tie Kellen Moore, former Boise State quarterback, with his 50th career win. That's the second most, tied for the second most in NCAA history across all divisions there. Of course, 49 of those coming at South Dakota State. But let's hear from Mark Gronowski and company about his black and gold debut.
I'm disappointed in how I played today, but this season it's a whole journey. It's a whole long journey. Kind of keep improving every single week. Me and the receivers, we're going to continue to get better every single week. But I got to give a good shout out to our linemen this week. They played a great game through and through. Over 300 yards rushing. Can't ask for much better than that. And X had an awesome game too. All our running backs did. So I'm happy on that side of things. But we got to pick it up on the passing game side. From my standpoint, I think I just got to relax a little bit more in the pocket. I felt like I was kind of moving a little too fast. I got to just slow it down for myself, settle in, kind of what I said earlier. But just continuing to focus on the little things, taking a breath before each single play and read the defense and just kind of go through my progressions, go through my reads, and we'll be successful and just start shooting.
He can run the football, which is good. That makes us a little bit more diverse attack-wise. And, the obvious takeaway, our passing game wasn't what it needed to be tonight. And a lot of factors involved. And I think, part of it is just him probably pressing too hard. And I'm certainly no quarterback expert, but sat in a lot of offensive rooms over the years. And it's one thing I've noticed is it's hard to get a quarterback just to, relax a little bit and take what's there sometimes. Mainly because they want to do well and they want to push it and they want to maybe do more than they need to sometimes. And amazingly, if you just kind of are patient, good things will eventually come your way. So I think it was part of that. And, I think it's really directly tied to the cramping that he was experiencing. You're trying so hard, you're wound up, you got your motor running pretty high level, and he's an unbelievably conscientious guy. So this will be good for him to get through this and move forward. So really confident he'll be fine.
So 8 of 15 for 44 yards, 39 yards on the ground, 2 total touchdowns, including his first touchdown pass as a Hawkeye to Caden Weegan, who catches his first touchdown pass as a Hawkeye. Of course, has scored in the return game as well. Also rushed for a score here. Listen, we talked about how many times he might throw, what we could see from the offense. 44 yards wasn't the expectation, and maybe we just need to learn when it comes to Hawkeye football, particularly in openers, maybe lower the expectations, like he lowered his shoulder there as he was running for one of those 11 rushes on the day. But Mike used the word bummed. I think that's still kind of just the, not like brutally disappointed and like, oh, it's over, here we go again for Iowa. It's like, yeah, man, would have been nice to start better than 2 for 8 throwing. Nice that he finished 6 for 7 through the air, but then the cramps got to him. You see there after the touchdown run in the third quarter. Shout out to Jennings Dunker helping out with the training staff there, stretching him out. It's not what everyone's ideal rose-colored glasses would have been, but, do you feel how do we feel about Mark Gronowski after that first start? And not the numbers maybe everyone was hoping for, but 1-0, and there were a couple good plays out there.
I do have to at least acknowledge that maybe nerves were a factor. Again, he's played in Kinnick Stadium before when he was at South Dakota State. He's played in a few big environments, but this was his first home game in front of 76,000 fans or whatever. So nerves could have played a major factor in there, and he is a very good runner. He really showed his skill on the ground, which is great. Does Iowa really need help in the ground game? Doesn't seem like it right now, but Mark Gronowski is a talented runner as far as quarterbacks go. But boy, in the passing game just looked so lost out there so many times. I mean, a couple of times where he could have just had a wide open touchdown and just overthrew it, underthrew it. Just did not look like he had any clue what was going on out there in the passing game. I just want to talk through a couple of former Iowa quarterbacks. Deacon Hill, in his first game where he came on in relief, had 115 passing yards. His first start had 110 yards. Only one of Deacon Hill's games he had fewer than 44 yards. Cade McNamara's first game last year had 191 yards. First game a couple years ago had over 200 yards. I might be flip-flopping those two games. But regardless, 44 yards in your passing debut as a Hawkeye. Not what was anticipated, not what I expected. I don't think that's what anybody expected. Again, nerves could be a major factor that we're looking at here, but we would certainly want to get something like that cleaned up come next week. Yeah, nerves could be a factor. I think there was a sentiment, too, that Iowa didn't want to, they played vanilla, not to, play their cards for Iowa State next week. But I thought the first 3 drives, they were really trying to complete some passes. Something, yeah. And then after that, I think their next 13 plays, 12 of them were runs, and Kirk was just like, let's just get this dub. Yeah. Only 6 passes thrown in an entire second half. Yeah. So it's like you said, it's disappointing, and my chat groups were going, they were bad. I mean, I think a day afterwards, I kind of settle in, and I don't want to take too much stock into the first game. If Mitch and I were talking before this, and I agree with you, if by UMass or Indiana or Rutgers the next game, it still looks like this, then I think you're fighting for a bowl game this year. Yeah. But Kirk Ferentz always says the
most improvement happens from week 1 to week 2, and let's just cross our fingers that happens in the quarterback position.
I mean, you got to look at the level of opponent too. It's like, yes, it was the first game, but
most concerning part.
Exactly. Like UMass might really stink this year, but Albany is probably the worst team, almost definitely going to be the worst team you see on your schedule this year. And if you're underthrowing Sam Phillips by 10 yards when he's wide open in the end zone, if you're overthrowing, I think that was TJ that he overthrew on that same drive, like those are not things that are going to work out well for you when you get into Big Ten games.
We'll see about Albany. As a brand new roster, maybe they are a little tougher. You still got the interim coach, but he's been there for a while. So we'll see about Albany. It's August 31st.
I just think the quarterback couldn't play at Buffalo last year, and he outplayed Mark.
Sure. Yeah, 100%.
At least from throwing it, the ball.
The Deacon Hill stat comparisons and things like that. Deacon they were in a fight against Purdue, and he had hit a couple deep shots to Eric All, who was in the building. It was cool to see Eric All back at Kinnick yesterday. If Mark hits Sam for that touchdown, and there was another one where he rolls out, I think it was in the first or second quarter. It was first quarter. Rolls out, and Jacob Gill gets away, and there's nobody behind him. And if he could just lob it over and he overshot him, if he hits that, and that 8 of 15 turns into 10 of 15 for like 112 and 3 touchdown passes instead of 8 of 15 for 44 and 1, I think people feel it was just hit the one shot, hit one of the easy ones. And I think that alleviates things. 2 of 8 and missing the way he did, not fun. And you watch the film, it's tough for us on the field seeing the all 22 perspective, so to speak. Not that we get that in the TV broadcast. The footwork showed nerves. Talking to former players and what they saw too, just like that was a big moment. He looked like a guy who, despite all the experience he's had, has heard for the last 8 months, help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. It felt like that was a guy who had the weight of the world on top of his 235-pound shoulders and frame of like, man, go save us, go figure it out. Like you are the godsend for this passing attack. And again, 6 passes in the second half, things didn't happen much, and you didn't need to. 17-7 felt like, okay, it's over. And they picked up 68 of their 177 yards on offense, Albany did, on that 1 touchdown drive. To Mike's point, like we were talking about, if this continues, if you still have the nerves at home against UMass before you're heading on the road for Rutgers, before you host Indiana in the Big Ten home opener, then the eyebrows raise a little more. But the message we've got from Kirk and Tim and everybody else who's been working with Mark is that if he makes a mistake in practice or there's a moment in practice where things are off, it's remedied fast. So I think that's all. What you hope is that that's just kind of part of his. It's not full on Willie Beeman in any given Sunday having to puke before every game, but just hey, like. He has to get through it one time, and hopefully the next time out, he's a little more settled. You've got film, you know what's out there, you know what you need to be working on, and again, saw Reese Reddick for Iowa City Liberty on Friday cramping up like crazy at quarterback and had to leave the game for a while. Once those cramps are in and you're just overthinking everything because you're just what step is going to go, that can add into if you're already nervous. So the nerves aren't crazy, but, yeah, if you get to Ames and things are still a little sideways, then yeah, the level of concern will rise. But it's the runs were fun, and on that touchdown pass, even though it was 2 yards to Caden, that's 4th down. Footwork looked good, and you got it done there. So how he finished, despite the cramps, felt settled me a little more, and even watching it back again on TV.
We talk about the Iowa State game this coming week. I mean, going in Mark Gronowski versus Rocco Becht, it's like Rocco's looked like one of the best quarterbacks in America.
19 of 20 yesterday, yeah.
Just insane performance by Rocco yesterday, and he looked great against Kansas State. Boy, he looks like 10 times better QB than Mark. But Mark's a good guy, so I do want to say again something nice about him before we kind of wrap things up about the quarterback, that not just his scrambling and his running game, did look good, just his escapability in the pocket was really nice on a few of those drives where it's like he looked wrapped up, he looked totally contained and managed to find a way through it. He had that one play that a lot of people were questioning, okay, why was that called a sack? His knee definitely wasn't down, and I think it was,
his progress was stopped.
His progress was stopped. It didn't
that reminded me of Nate Stanley.
It was exactly Nate
Ohio
Stanley.
State. Like he could throw the ball away, and that saves 8 yards. Maybe you pick up a first down on the next play. That was, disagree with the call, but I think that's changed in the last 5 years because they don't want the quarterback to get smacked around by the second defensive lineman.
The whistles come a little quicker,
or twisted in a weird way because the guy was just kind of hanging onto one leg, and to Mark's credit, just stood in there. Eventually, found a way to get rid of the ball, and I think. Did he complete that pass? I can't remember if he completed it for a short game or threw it away.
I think he threw it away, yeah.
But regardless, he at least made it through. And so that's one thing that I think does, again, work to his credit is that he did look, in the pocket at least, he looked competent enough to escape pressure.
Yeah. And there were, I think 2 good throws, that the touchdown, obviously. If you look back at last year when there were so many plays in the red zone where Iowa could not convert, if it wasn't for Brandon Sullivan running it in, he throws a touchdown pass to Caden Weegan. That 3rd and 10 pickup to Gill, that was a great throw. Now I'm grasping for straws because there were only a couple of them.
Yeah.
And then, I think he only threw 3 passes over 10 yards, 1 for 3. Again, that goes to, I don't think they were designing many deep shots for him.
Yeah.
And the ones that he wasn't seeing anything open or was looking at the wrong, man at that play. But when we're talking about why we're disappointed, it's because of the opponent. And when you look at the schedule, when you're going to have to face Rocco Becht, Drew Aller, and, who's the Oregon kid that stepped up, Dante Moore?
Dante Moore, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all look pretty good this weekend, Those are the quarterbacks that you're going to have to compete, not head-to-head, obviously, because you don't play quarterback versus quarterback, but on game day. And if the play doesn't, the nerves don't shake easier and he doesn't come back, then it might be kind of a long season.
Mm-hmm. Albany was also playing a lot of zone and playing off, and the deep shots probably weren't there. I mean, they were going to let them, weren't going to let them try to go over the top a whole lot, which, again, I think Iowa's game plan wasn't as much as we thought about it.
When it's FCS Albany, that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's August 31st. I try not to take too much stake in who knows if South Dakota is the South Dakota that everyone's thought they were going to be. It's nobody knows anything about anything yet, especially us. Thanks for tuning in, though, on Eye on the Hawks. Thanks to Pin Seekers as well for sponsoring our Teeing It Up segment. Mark Gronowski with leg cramps, not really an injury, so to speak, maybe the hurt versus injured argument. There are injury bugs biting strongly. It started on Wednesday when the news broke about Reese Vanderzee. There are more to talk about. Kamari Moulton out now, Bryce George out after pregame warm-ups. A little bit of a different scenario there, so let's hear from everybody about the injury bug biting in Iowa City.
Injury-wise, Kamari went out. Do you have an update on him? Bryce George, I think, got hurt in the pregame.
Yeah, that's an interesting
one.
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure it's a first for me. I'm pretty sure. As a line coach or just, any coach. But, it was a freak thing. And, he was just obviously devastated. It's hard. I think he'll be back. I don't know how soon. But anyway, that was... Yeah, you're just not counting on that, to your point. Kamari, we'll see. I don't think it's the end of the world, but we'll know more tomorrow, probably tomorrow, Monday.
Reese Vanderzee, how long is you expecting him to be out?
Shame on me for saying we're pretty healthy on Tuesday, which we were at that time. And then, full detail is it was actually he was in the food line after practice and felt discomfort in his foot. So I don't know how long he'll be out, but it's just nobody saw it coming, including him. So I imagine a couple weeks here, we'll see. But again, anytime a player gets hurt, Kamari seemed to be doing pretty good today, but Bryce, it really, it's his last year. And Reese was really disappointed too because he's had a great camp and done a lot of good things. But, he'll be back. He'll get back.
It's about the best news you can ask for, all things considered. You see Reese there on crutches and pregame, boot on his left foot there. Kamari Moulton. We didn't really see what happened. Yeah. Again, started out really well and then had his arm and his right arm. They didn't really show a replay either. They didn't show, I know Shannon Earhart from KCCI talked about seeing them cutting up the right side of his jersey, and he had been in the injury tent. You see him there in the sling. And then Bryce George, again, something in the pregame. Not sure what happened there. Maybe you were watching?
I was watching along with a couple of our colleagues, and I wasn't shooting when it happened, but it kind of looked like they were doing those drills where the guy's kind of trying to rush at him, and he just kind of got turned around in a weird way, I think, and just was laying there on the ground for probably 2-3 minutes. So hard to say exactly what happened to him, but I don't think, Kirk said it too, I don't think I've ever seen something like that where somebody really goes down with something serious just in the pregame drills.
Yeah, I think to rank the importance of the player lost to injury, I think you kind of go in the order we just showed him. RVZ, just because he's a 6'4", 250-pound receiver, not just because of what he can do in the pass game, but that's a heck of a matchup in the run game when you're up against a DB and you're 6'4", and that DB is probably not 6'4". Kamari, again, the running back room's stacked. We'll talk about Xavier's day coming up in a bit, but tough loss, hopefully one you can overcome. And then Bryce George, you were hoping by the time you get to mid-October, November, he's found his Rusty Feth-esque role on that offensive line. And again, like Kirk said, it's his final year. He comes in from Ferris State with a lot of, again, expectation, and it sucks to see that. But what are you guys' thoughts on losing three players that all were in the mix to do a lot of stuff here going into September and October?
I mean, you said it just right, that's kind of the order of importance with him. That Reese is a guy that's really going to be missed by the passing game. And I wonder how much that might have played a little bit of a role in Gronowski's struggles yesterday. Maybe Reese was going to be a major factor, and they'd drawn up a lot that was going to be for him, and they kind of had to adjust over the last couple of days. So Reese is a big loss. Kamari, like you say, they're so deep at running back that they've got a couple more guys that can fill in there. And Bryce George, he adds nice depth there on the O-line, but it's not like he's a guy who's, he could have seen some starts by the end of the year, but he's a little bit lower on that end.
Yeah, I just hope that the last two aren't out for a while. I guess we haven't heard any updates as of Sunday afternoon when we're recording this, but I don't want to repeat what you guys just said, but yeah, running back, I guess I don't feel too concerned about these. Now, if these injuries start stacking up and it happens again next week, and your depth wears thin, then you start to worry. That's the only thing in my head is like injuries happen in football season. It's only week 1. I'm sure some more injuries will happen. And if, you start stacking them, although like running back, you seem like 5 deep, you could go 5 deep now and feel comfortable. And, Xavier Williams, your third string running back, looked like the best one out there. So, Jazz didn't get a snap until like the fourth quarter, right?
And then he immediately busts out one for 17. So, that's Iowa running back room. Omar Young is just taking the reins and gone.
Receiver is a tough one, too, to have Reese out because, like, receiver room I do feel like does have depth. There are a lot of good receivers on the roster, but Reese is so much better, I think, than everybody else. It's like that's the one receiver that you really don't want to miss out on.
Just different size, too. It's him and Dayton Howard, who probably has 25 pounds. Reese has 25 pounds on him. It's just there aren't guys that are 6'2 plus.
Yeah, totally about the receiver. And I guess I'm still sitting here at the receiver position, and a lot of had to do with some of the poor throws, but still wait and see on like if that depth is actually depth.
Yeah.
They look good.
You're right.
But they need to produce, right? So I thought Sam Phillips could have had a good game if he had the ball thrown to him a few times, although he did have a great return.
Had a hell of a return,
yeah,
man.
We'll talk.
You can see what he did on that a little later.
We're talking about, and I'm glad you rolled because as soon as it bounced past him, I stopped recording, and then I saw him pick it up, and then it was him coming to the near sideline that I was on. So now I'm running down to the end of the end zone because I'm like, he's gone, like he's fast. A fun play from him, and Kirk jokingly saying that okay, maybe he's got to look over his shoulder. Maybe he's, hey, but if you got 2 great returners, you'll certainly take it.
Come on, Mitch, shoot till the whistle. Come on, that's all. I'm just kidding. I probably would have the same thing.
Late fourth quarter, I was like, all right, like good way to go, Sam. But hey, good to see that. Well, hey, when the injury bug bites, it is next man in, and nobody summed that up better than Xavier Williams, a guy we started hearing about a little bit last year during his redshirt season, even more in bowl prep. Didn't see him in the bowl game, but popped up number 3 on the depth chart. Didn't really see a ton of him. We were all talking about Nathan McNeil in the spring and fall, and hey, he got in there too. And who's to say Nathan McNeil can't continue to pop? Remember, Caleb Johnson didn't have a carry at Wrigley Field in 2023. 2 weeks later, he's winning Iowa the Big Ten West. So that's a room that's always rotating. But Xavier Williams, have a day, and let's talk about those quads a little more.
There definitely were some nerves, but I just stayed prayed up. There wasn't much to it. I have a great supporting cast and really just stayed in prayer, and it all worked out.
TJ Washington, it seems like there's a lot of support for each other in this running back room. Did you feel that from those other guys in the running back room today?
100%. I think we're a pretty tight-knit group. There's talent all around my running back group. There's not a huge fall-off, I don't think, really at all. So I think everyone's together. Everyone's trying to get each other to take that next step, and everyone's happy for each other when everyone succeeds. So we definitely got a good thing going on.
I feel like he had a great night tonight. A lot of improvement from him. I'm just watching him practice every day and watching him get better. It's like you know, when you see somebody younger than you come in, it's like, bro, he working hard. I'm kind of like a proud parent right now watching him play, you know. Like, I don't really see it as competition. I see it as the best person going to be on the field at the end of the day. And I'm proud of him, everything he do.
Shoot, X stepped up. It's always next man up mentality. I mean, everyone always got to prepare like they're going to be going in, and he succeeded so well, and I'm so happy for him, so proud of him. And he's a hard man to get down. He's a hard guy to tackle, and I mean, you see how big his quads are. Everyone's kind of afraid to hit him, so he's going to keep running hard for us, and he's going to have a great season.
I mean, I've seen that from him since, you know, he first got on campus. You look at him and look at his quads, they're freaking gigantic. I mean, he's a physical back, and he's going to go out there and hit somebody. I thought he did a great job today. All of our running backs did.
So, yeah, he's got big quads, but it's more about what he's doing with them. A heck of a debut. The most rushing yards by an Iowa freshman in his debut since Sean Green in 2005. Ever heard of him? And the most rushing yards by an Iowa freshman regardless since at least 1970, according to Iowa Sports Information. 43-yard run there down the sideline. Had the touchdown. Just, boy, you can't ask for much more on a day where your one goes out and X gonna give it to him.
You saw I posted this picture on X, no pun intended with X here, but I posted this picture where I had a straightaway shot of him coming down on that 43-yard run, and his eyes
are wide, yeah.
wide open, just like, oh, is that what's in front of me?
A lot of fun.
Yeah, man, just crazy that he'd never even played a snap. You know, it's not like he'd even been a special teams guy or something last year. Like, he had never played a down of Hawkeye football until yesterday, and man, did he show up.
And I'm looking at my preseason pick for, a breakout player.
It's August 31st, man.
McNeil,
August 31st. Don't worry about it.
Got a couple of carries. Looked all right.
Did. No, I was joking. But, 11 rushes for, 128? Is that what it was?
122.
122, and then had a reception for 3, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a performance. I mean, there's always this story where you're not expecting a guy to just come out there and, if you're expecting TJ or Kamari, and obviously the injury didn't have, but I think he had 11 yards of carry, which is insane.
Man.
He's the only freshman in the top 50 nationally rushing yards. Everybody else is at least a sophomore.
Wow.
And I think he's the only guy around there from a Power 4 school. I think there's somebody from one of the group of fives. But, that's a heck of a debut. 43-yard gainer right at the top. Well, his first 2 runs, you're just like, hey, there's Xavier Williams. Haven't seen you since spring of last year. How you doing?
This might be a stupid question, but when we see the depth chart come out for the Iowa State game, is he number 1 on the depth chart for sure?
I would imagine TJ will be.
Yeah.
TJ had the most carries. TJ had a heck of a game. Again, had 69 yards on the ground. Don't say it, Mike. And had 1 reception for 2 yards there. Everybody got theirs. Mark, you take away the sack that kind of wasn't a sack for Mark. He's got 10 rushes for 46, I think, and had a 14-yarder in there. It seemed like everybody had at least one rush that went for either a first down or 8 or 9. It's just, hey, offensive line. We talked about the trenches being a strength, and Logan Jones and Pete making his first start. Doetzler and Lauk, we'll see how that rotation at left tackle goes, but Jennings Dunker and Bo Stevens, I mean, they plowed the road. You saw there on the graphic when Logan was talking, more than 5.8 yards a carry, and that's including the sack. You take the sack out, I think it gets up to 6 even. So that's you'll take that when the pass game's not clicking yet. You'll keep leaning and you'll take 300 plus any day.
Yeah, and Iowa had I could clock down 8 plays over 10 yards and 7 of them were runs. And not much more you could say about the rushing game. And I guess looking forward, we'll talk more about this on Wednesday, but. Might be a little tougher to run against them just with Dominique Orange in the middle, but we can save that pregame preview for Wednesday when we do our next podcast. But I wonder, I'll throw you a question. Who's the leading rusher by carries next week, do you think? Just a quick estimate.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's still TJ, or do you think it's Xavier or Jazz? Jazz had a heck of a Cyhawk game a couple of years ago at Ames.
Yeah, he had like an 80-yard run. That was like opening drive or one of the early drives.
Almost scored, was a little short.
I could see this being one of those situations where it's kind of like a couple of years ago when it was like every game you just didn't know who was going to be the leading rusher. And I could see that being the situation for the first half of the season where maybe next game it is TJ who has the breakout game and X takes a back seat to him maybe.
Or do you trust your veteran in Jazz on the road?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, fumbles and ball security was an issue last night, but on the road against a top 15 opponent, which I would say probably will be, or they might be.
Close to it.
Yeah, like, do you put your veteran in? Although Jazz has had some issues with fumbling in the past, just a couple from top of my mind.
I would say it's Jazz and TJ, and then Xavier's not a proven commodity yet, but he's your hot hand, and maybe you lean that way. But I would imagine, I know they're really high on TJ, and I imagine he continues to lead the way a good deal of it. But to your point, Mike, Jazz has seen plenty, and he's had success in Jack Trice, so I'm sure he'll get his too. And Nathan McNeil, maybe he gets rolled out. To your point too, Owen. Just 2 years ago it was okay. Like who is it this week? Is it going to be LeSean Williams, who's had a good start to his season at Kansas? Against Wisconsin he was the guy and had an 82-yard run against the Badgers, the only touchdown in that game for Iowa. Or you have Caleb, who doesn't do anything at Wrigley Field, isn't on the field, and then wins it at Kinnick with the Big Ten West, and just keep that rotation going. So heck, maybe Mark's leading rusher. We'll see there, but it'll certainly be fun, and it's just great to see a kid have a breakout like that and then be so humble when he gets to the podium. But that's kind of the standard, I suppose. Anytime you have one of these Iowa kids break out, they tend to thank all their teammates. Mm-hmm. Well, on the other side of the ball, defense, 177 yards, allowed 68 coming on one touchdown drive. Otherwise, kind of a tale of two halves. We talked about that quite a bit in 2024, but Iowa's defense settles in the second half, only gives up 33 yards the rest of the way. Let's hear from everybody about the defense and how they settled in. I guess by everybody, I just mean Kirk Ferentz talking about how the defense settled in.
I think the first half we, as I just mentioned, gave up a couple quarterback runs that were like, they just looked like we didn't know what we were doing, and then gave up a couple passes too that were, you'd like to see a little tighter coverage. So I think, and that was disappointing. But in the second half, a lot more 3-and-outs. I just thought we played a lot sharper and crisper, and they caught us in that one-man coverage where we had the pass interference. But good job on their part. But it was two different halves for sure, and happy to see that. And that's the tempo we need to be going at. Just gotta. So hopefully we're a little bit better suited to start pushing forward here.
And as we've talked about, you'll need to be against Rocco Becht in a Cyclone offense that is looking pretty good. 2 sacks. You saw there Aaron Graves real close to getting a fumble recovery. He took the ball anyways, just to make sure. Max Sloan was also in there. Kenneth Merriweather had a big tackle for loss late in the fourth as well. But one explosive play given up that was on that touchdown drive of 27 yards. That's Phil Parker's big measurement, is keep those explosive plays to minimum at 0, obviously, is the goal. Another 19-yarder was also given up on that touchdown drive. But thoughts on the defense, guys? Zach Lutmer, you talked about Owen, man. Yeah. He really, aside from being in coverage for that touchdown, man, he was smacking guys. Carson Shire was in there with a couple good hits. Man, everybody kind of had theirs, but a good overall defensive performance, it felt like, once they settled in.
Good overall. I mean, again, if you're considering the opponent, you're maybe a little bit like, okay, I feel like they could have done better. We're looking at the metrics that we had for what's going to make for a successful season opener. We talked about that last week during the preview podcast, and not many of those standards were met. Frankly, one of them that I said was that I'd like to see them win the turnover battle by a few, get maybe 3 or 4 more than Albany had. They lost the turnover battle. Albany had that one fumble recovery that Hank dropped, and like a bobbled snap, I think, but no turnovers for Iowa seemed a little strange. Graves was real. Just looking at that placement of the elbow and when that ball was loose, Graves was really close to having a fumble recovery there, which would just be an all-time great play. But overall, played good. I think maybe should have done a little better considering the opponent, but they did look really nice out there, and at least outside of that touchdown drive, kept things to a minimum. Just a couple of sacks, maybe that too. I was hoping to see a few more of that.
Yeah.
But, still, they got the job done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought the defense played all right. I think my problem is I held them to such a high standard because they've been so good.
It all comes to expectation, right?
The defense wowould be super dominant. In the first half, I didn't think they were. In the second half, they kind of were. But 2 sacks, like you said, 14 pressures, which isn't it's a good amount against, I think, a normal team, right? I think I looked up and the stats said they had 15 against Iowa State last year, but 13 against Illinois State. So, but they were, the quarterback had an average a drop back of 2.8 seconds. So there were some quick passes. Yeah. I'll give them that. I just thought they'd be more dominant than I thought. I saw. So I think it's hard to judge because, like, again, 7 points. The second half, what was it, 33 yards?
33 yards, 68 of the 177 coming
good
on that touchdown drive. You have 27 come on one play, and yeah, you'd like to pitch the shutout, obviously.
Yeah. That one drive was the only concern because they looked, I guess Jack Shields, is that his name, Jack Shields?
Yeah.
I was questioning myself when I said it out loud. I don't know why, but he was finding space in the defense. Jaden Harrell got caught on a one-on-one, which is concerning because
was that the
linebackers?
PI?
Yeah,
it was a different
PI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. A PI. He got caught and he kind of a little grabbing a little bit. I thought Shire was the better linebacker. I thought Harrell played
really
well, but kind of, I don't know what he is still, at this point. And then the corners in the secondary, I thought, again, another one where I can't judge it because I think they were just playing base, but just keep things in front of you.
Receivers made a couple of nice catches on low throws, and there's only so much you can do with that.
I do feel like I grew in my confidence of this defense as the game went along. I can't say that for Iowa's offense or Mark Gronowski, but for the defense, I could say, boy, by the fourth quarter, they really looked great, and that too might be a season opener type of thing, where they come out just a little bit slow, a little bit flat, do enough to get the job done in the first half, and then they really started to pick up the pressure in the second half, in the fourth quarter especially.
One thing that might be concerning, like you mentioned, the turnovers. Like when Iowa has a really good defense, they dominate on the D-line, and they're ball hawks. Again, no turnovers for Iowa yesterday on the defense. But were they just playing their base, They weren't really – I thought that they only had a few blitzes that I could tell in the second half, and when they did, they connected or at least hurried or hit the quarterback. So that's pretty good. So I guess it all depends on what they were actually running out there.
Not a lot of turnover opportunities, even. It's not like they had a lot of passes thrown to somebody.
Shields wasn't throwing anything into coverage.
Right.
Again, his receivers did a heck of a job scooping a couple off the turf there. Seth Anderson almost had that one catch off the turf, but that got turned over on the other side. Yeah, it didn't feel like there were a lot of opportunities because Shields wasn't risking anything a whole bunch. And again, it's a Phil Parker defense. It can get pretty base and vanilla if it needs to be, and not get too out of hand. Again, considering the opponent, all due respect to what the Great Danes could be, we don't know. August 31st, but you're not trying to get too extravagant, I imagine, in those scenarios. You feel like even after the touchdown drive, stick to what you're doing, and hopefully it works out.
And like Kirk said in the soundbite, let's learn how to cover a read option because that was the most frustrating part of the defense because, generally on those plays, one player has the quarterback, one has the running back. Pretty good job at stopping the running back, but the quarterback was just running wild.
Brian Allen blew up that fourth down. It would have been great if the running back had the ball. He didn't. Yeah. Shields did, and he had a nice little scamper there for 89 yards. Well, we talked a lot about linebackers right there, but hey, talk about the linebacker from Monticello. We heard about Preston Reese setting squat records for the linebacker room in the summer, and nobody getting more talk maybe online afterwards aside from, grumbles about Gronowski or the passing game, anything like that. There are a lot of folks in Monticello right now, Panther Nation, standing up tall and proud for number 46. What a day. Preston Reese, redshirt freshman, Hawkeye debut, gets the call to the post-game interview room. Not a man of many words, and a lot of those words were repeated, but it's all good. Preston Reese, after a heck of a day on special teams.
I guess that's cool that they enjoy me playing fast, because I guess that's the goal, to play fast and try to make tackles and get the win. And that's what happened. I was coming and I was going to try to do my role to the best of my ability, and that happened to be special teams today. So we happened to get the win, so it was good.
2 tackles, starting with this one, lose the helmet, announcing his presence with authority. Big day for Preston with the 2 tackles. Might have got a fingernail on a punt here. I believe it was in the fourth quarter maybe. He was all over a couple of them there. Just a heck of a day for him. And then Drew Stevens, 2 field goals out there. Girardi over at Iowa State or Conradi, excuse me. I'm talking about Kyler Girardi for the Hawks here. Conradi from 63 in Ames, but 55 for Drew Stevens, a career high. That was
about 15 more yards.
Good from 63 there as well. And then you're not going to see Reese Dakin, but only 2 punts, did a heck of a job. And then here's Sam Phillips. Misjudged the punt to begin with, but ran back, and boy, that's when coverages can really break down. And 46-yard return there. maybe giving Caden a little bit of a scare of who could be the returner, but heck of a job for the transfer from Chattanooga. Good to see there. How we think about special teams, that cornerstone for Iowa always seems to show up when you need it.
Yeah, I'll talk about Preston Reese first a little bit. That I love Kirk's soundbite they said after the game where he's like, we tell the defense not to hit the offensive players in practice, and Preston Reese is the worst at listening to that instruction. Like, he just does not do good. he just can't be helped in going after the offense when he needs to. Yeah, he looked great out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more snaps at linebacker for him coming up in the near future. He was awesome. They did rule it a blocked punt. Like in the post game, they did, I guess.
I was just looking through the box score. I didn't get to it yet. I was wondering if they did.
They did, yeah.
I heard it,
right?
And then when watching it, I don't see the ball actually go backwards. I was like,
if it tips, I guess
he
it still
didn't
counts.
say anything about getting a finger on it. He was just like, "Yeah, I was there. Help the team win."
What's in there? You're right.
But yeah,
block punt first of the season,
and that's maybe one of the other big positive I took out of the day was Drew Stevens. Just, again, reliable on extra points, hits a 55-yarder, like, no problem. Showing a little swag afterwards, really celebrating that one. Like, he's a guy who, again, you know what you're going to get out of Drew Stevens, and he could be in for a Lou Groza type of season.
Yeah, that, the 55-yarder I was pretty jazzed about. And then, like, of course, like, the Cyclone hits a 63, right? Yeah. Like, not comparing them, but kind of comparing them because it's hate week and Cyhawk week. And, but that was an awesome kick, and like you said, it could have been good for like 5 more yards.
It's just how it looked,
maybe longer.
15 more yards. Yeah. I mean, that looked like that.
I didn't know if there was more if you would have like curved out because there was. I thought a little bit curve on there.
That could be. Yeah.
At least from the TV angle. I don't know if what it was in real life.
He was bombing them, and it's fun to see Drew do that. And hey, Cyhawk games, they come down to field goals sometimes, so we'll see what happens there. What a great kicking matchup. Boy, there's your spotlight matchup. Talking about what positions could match up well. This thing is going to come down to somebody's leg.
Conradi's interesting, too, because he hit that 54-yarder to beat Iowa, and then he hit that 63-yarder, which is a school record, I believe.
Yeah.
But I saw last season, like, a lot of Cyclone fans, because he was missing some kicks later in the Big 12 season, be upset with them and, kind of be like, you got to be more consistent. Kind of like Drew was the year before when he was kind of nailing them and then he'd miss a few. So I wonder if both of them are going to be just like on fire this year. Who knows?
Fun. Yeah. I mean, hey, I don't envy the life of a kicker. You're either a hero or a scapegoat. But Drew Stevens playing some hero ball certainly recently. Who's not playing hero in any way, shape, or form is me picking games. If we could just get through this little part real quick. Oh boy,
Mike with some nice calls there. Boy, got to be impressed with
3-1. Hit this for myself.
You're not going to do the horn. You're going to do the horn. Do the horn.
That would be for 4-0. So I'll just go over these quickly. Quickly. Our picks. I went 3-1 with Cincinnati over covering against Nebraska, Ohio State covering the 2.5 against Texas, Iowa State covering the 14.5 against South Dakota, and then we all chose Iowa covering the 38-point spread, which I was like,
we should know better. Yeah, we should know better.
That was our loss. Owens 2-2. He missed on the South Dakota Iowa State game in Iowa, and then Mitch, sorry about it.
That was
0-4.
You got to eat it. That's how it goes. In the Nebraska game. I was rooting for a pick six or something there at the very end as Cincinnati was driving. Man, and Texas just really frustrating. I thought there'd be a little more arch. Not all on arch, Julian Sain was impressive from Ohio State. First career start. You got all the weapons in the world, but man, that kid just helps that it's at home. But he looked great, and South Dakota just after that first quarter wasn't in that one.
It is possible. South Dakota has a new head coach this year. There's been some turnover there, so maybe this is a really down year for South Dakota. Who knows? But I really was just thinking that this was the Iowa State team. How they usually play against FCS opponents is, a 14-point win, and that's what we get out of them. They just get the job done like Iowa did yesterday. But
one other thing,
they rocked them.
Playing a factor in that is, after I don't know if you saw the soundbite from Matt Campbell after the Ireland game saying that they had the toughest schedule in the country and touted the. I mean, obviously that's not true, but he was really. If you read between the lines, like he's trying to gas up his guys. Like, do not that is a letdown game spot. Do not let it happen. And he talked about Iowa for 1 second, then skipped over to a road trip against Arkansas State, who has a really good roster.
He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly.
He's just trying to get his guys up. And South Dakota. I mean, South Dakota State lost to Oklahoma State last year, who, won 2 games, and they still went to the semifinals or the final?
I think semis.
Yeah. So there is a talent gap in FCS and FBS, and sometimes good teams can lose to good teams like. So I would say, I was really impressed with what they did.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to block 2 field goals to beat Northern Iowa in 2000.
Yeah. And then you win 10 games, beating three teams who won 10 games.
It's early. It's week 1. Everybody's figuring stuff out. And to Owen's point, especially at the FCS level, the transfer portal giveth and taketh away. Taketh away. You've got all this talent going into Albany, 50 new players. South Dakota maybe losing stuff. They still have Aiden Bauman, the former Cyclone quarterback. But, those FCS programs, I think as we go farther into this transfer portal era, those are just going to get tougher and tougher to gauge. Just as much as, you see in Indiana make a 1-year turnaround. It's especially, talking to Jaden Harrell a little bit in the postgame of just the scout. And that was the storyline getting ready for Albany is just how do you look at these guys when the film from last year gives you maybe some formation and scheme, but nothing else about personnel. I'm just trying to make excuses for going 0-4. That's my excuse right there.
Find some tape. You can do better in week 2.
I'm still looking for the all-22 from yesterday. I really want to see the bird's eye view on everything. Final thoughts before we move on from Albany and start looking ahead to Cyhawk Week.
I do understand people not wanting to overreact after week 1, and so I'm trying to do the same and not overreact, but I think that a lot more is going to be clear after the Iowa State game. Even if Iowa manages to keep it close and lose or win by a close margin, I'm like, okay, then I'll have more confidence in this team. But if they look like they did against Albany and they get beat by 14, 21 points, I'm really going to have some question marks about what this team looks like going forward, and I'm going to have a lot more confidence in my bold take of them not making a bowl game. Like, they need to look a ton better on offense and defense if they have any chance of beating Iowa State this coming week.
It's not just, pad the stats either. It's just make the makeables.
Yes.
Because they weren't made yesterday. And if Gronowski, like you mentioned earlier in the show, beat myself, but Gronowski had like an 8 for 10 stat line for like 100 yards. I would feel less concerned because he made the throws, right? But, I'm along the same lines. Like, I just think, what are we going to see next week? I think Iowa State is a legit top 15 team, and I think them and Utah are 2 of the Big 12 favorites. I'm probably leaving someone out there, but they've impressed me over the first 2 weeks. Of course, with the opponents, Week 1 opponents, you never know what you have across the board, so we could look back and, wow, this is silly, but I don't like to overreact either. Let's flush that game. You've used that word a few times, Mitch. Flush that game, and then, work for week 2. I just don't have a good feeling right now. Maybe it'll change on Wednesday, though.
Well, you both picked Iowa State to win in the preseason, right? Yeah. There is – comfort's not the right word. It's an interesting feeling, and that's not the right word either. You won by 4 scores. You rush for 300 plus. You hold them, the opponent, regardless of who they are, to under 180 yards. And there's still this feeling of it was not a celebratory postgame, and they got off the field quick because that's what Iowa does. Yep. But, if you were just looking at them with zero context, you would have thought, like, maybe not full-on loss, but they clearly weren't happy with what they did. They weren't satisfied. There's the word. It's. But there's a strange. You do all that and you still don't feel fulfilled with a win. You kind of feel not all right. I'm bad at words. Good thing it's not my job. There's like a thinly veiled optimism of, okay, if they can go out there and win by 27 and do everything they did and you don't feel great, okay. Like, there's kind of something to be said about that. All right, hey, didn't play our best, and look at what we still did. Clean it up, watch some film, make the makeables. That's probably the Iowa focus going into Cyhawk Week. Speaking of Cyhawk Week, as if it's not busy enough already for us trying to juggle everything we're doing in the Broadcast Park newsroom and doing Eastern Iowa OT, which is on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel as well. If you missed any of your Week 1 highlights, or go to iowasnewsnow.com. We covered, what, a dozen games that didn't get rained out? Anything like that? We covered a good amount.
I think we ended up with 11.
Okay, just shy.
11 or 12, yeah.
So, yeah, plenty of stuff there. So catch up on all that. And, of course, Eye on the Hawks, all of our coverage. We've got a big week, not just because we've got the Wednesday preview of the Cyhawk game, but we have a Eye on the Hawks pregame show that will air before Big Noon kickoff on Fox coming up this week. Mike's, 6 weeks ago you sent out the initial plan for that, so we've got some irons in the fire on that.
The funny thing about these specials is you kind of have to wait until game week to look at the storyline. So I was just working on it before the show, and you secured, or should I say this or no about the guests yet?
No.
Okay, I won't say it then. I do know for the Cyclone side, we'll talk to Jeff Woody, who calls ESPN games for the Big 12 this season. The Big 12 and some FCS, is, from what I understand. We'll do kind of look at the Cyclones. Patrick Smith will also head out there, our reporter, to Ames this week. So we're in the process of just doing some storylines right now. At least I was, and I'll probably fill you in later. And then on Tuesdays, we'll get the bulk of our content. So
for sure, yeah. And of course, on Tuesdays, remember to go to the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel and check all our full interviews with all the players and what they're talking about going into whatever game it is, certainly in Cyhawk Week. Joe Evans isn't there anymore, 2 years removed, so we can't talk to anybody from Ames about it. So we'll have to bug Jaden Harrell and Max Llewellyn being from Urbandale. And how'd that feel, guys? I can tell you for the Cyhawk special last week, or it's been a week and a half now, I talked with Riley McCarron, the pride of Dubuque Waller, living large in Chicago right now, but talked to him about the 2015 Cyhawk game, and who doesn't remember C.J. Beathard putting it in a shoebox to him, his first career touchdown in Ames against a team that he grew up rooting against because he's from Dubuque, and that's like a lot of Hawkeye fans over there. But really fun to start getting that retrospective put together. But that'll be airing what times, Mike? Do you know off the top of your head? Sorry to put you on the spot.
On Friday at 6:30 on Fox.
And then it airs Saturday as well, before the pregame show.
Before Big Noon kickoff.
So tune in before Big Noon kickoff Saturday on Fox?
Yes, and then there's, I don't know the time, so I apologize, but it will air in Des Moines as well on Fox 17.
And then imagine like everything else, that'll be on the YouTube channel as well.
We'll have it
so
on
yeah,
YouTube
if you miss it any other time or you want to reminisce at any point.
Might put it up Thursday. Just
there we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that little tease. Could get up early. All right. Well, we'll be back here Wednesday night, breaking everything down in the Cyhawk. It's a fun week every time, no matter what side you're on. If you want Iowa State to lose every game after Iowa, or if you cheer on them when they're not going up against the black and gold, it's just a good time. Excited to get to Jack Trice. I haven't covered a Cyhawk game since 2011. Excited to get back there.
In Ames, I assume you mean.
In Ames.
That was the last time I went to a Cyhawk game in Ames, was 2011.
Steel.
So I stay away now.
Remember James White with the winner, 44-41 in triple overtime. Lots to talk about between the black and gold and Cardinal and gold. We'll do it on Wednesday. See you then. For Mike and Owen, Ren and Robert, I'm Mitch. See you on Wednesday on Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving, so when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.